Welcome, listeners, to another My Mind MashUps deep dive where we unravel mysteries, spark curiosity, and really try to make sense of complex ideas together. Today, we are wrestling with something pretty fundamental, I think. Are we truly advancing as a species? Or are we just getting, really good at building fancy gadgets? I mean, just think about the sheer explosion since the mid-20th century. We got nuclear power, space travel, the internet, gene editing, now AI that can almost think. Our power, our capability, it's shot through the roof. But here's the rub, the core tension. Has all that external progress actually made us better, more compassionate, wiser? Or are we kind of like toddlers with power tools, smarter machines, same old human flaws? So our mission today is to really dig into this idea of ethical lag. The concept that our tech speeds ahead, but our morals, our social structures, they lag behind. We need to ask, is real advancement internal wisdom, empathy, or is it just about the shiny new external stuff, the code, the hardware?
That's absolutely the heart of it. And look, this warning isn't new. It's been echoing since we first split the atom. Martin Hellman, building on Einstein, put it starkly, "The unleashed power of the atom has changed everything save our modes of thinking."
Wow. Everything except how we think.
Exactly, and that's the danger right there, isn't it? This gap. We innovate at lightning speed, but if our ethics, our ways of relating to each other don't keep pace, well, that amplified power becomes incredibly dangerous. It's like if we get godlike abilities but keep acting on ancient tribal impulses, where does that actually lead?
A scary thought.
It really is. And before we trace how this lag developed, just a quick reminder for everyone listening. If this stuff makes you think, please do like, share, and subscribe. It helps us keep these deep dives going.
Okay, so let's map this out. The speed is key to this ethical lag idea, right? Let's trace that innovation timeline. After World War II, you had that huge post-war boom. Nuclear energy, jets crossing oceans in hours, the space race. Big, heavy industry, chemistry.
Right, massive physical infrastructure changes.
Then that sort of flowed into the digital age. PCs popping up everywhere, then the internet connecting everyone, smartphones in every pocket, social media.
A shift from atoms to bits, you could say.
Yeah. And now we're in what feels like an even more disruptive phase.
Yeah.
AI that writes and creates. CRISPR editing genes, synthetic biology. Each wave seems faster, more potent than the last.
Yeah.
And each one fundamentally changes how we live, how society works, within just, a decade or two.
And that's exactly where the ethical lag comes in. We define it as basically the gap, the delay between when a powerful new tech hits the scene and when we actually develop the rules, the laws, the social norms, the kind of shared understanding needed to handle it wisely.
But why is there always a lag? Why can't we anticipate this stuff better?
Well, think about the timescales. A tech breakthrough can happen in months, maybe a year or two. But changing laws, shifting cultural attitudes, building social consensus, that takes years. Often it takes decades, even generations.
So technology operates on a different clock speed than society.
Precisely. Think about older disruptive tech. The printing press, it didn't just spread literacy, it fueled the Reformation, completely changing religion and politics. The handgun changed personal violence forever. Birth control pills restructured family and relationships. These things landed. And the moral debates, the legal fights, the new social rules, they took ages to sort out. Now, with AI or gene editing arriving so fast, we're squashing that adjustment period down to almost nothing.
And the fallout from that compression, the immediate consequences, we see them all around, don't we? Social upheaval, environmental damage because we didn't think it through, resources getting depleted, wealth gaps widening.
Which brings us right to what the thinker Neil Postman called the Faustian bargain of technology. It's a powerful idea.
Faustian bargain. Selling your soul.
Kind of, yeah. Postman warned that all technological change is a trade-off. You always gain something: convenience, power, speed, but you always lose something too. Something valuable often gets pushed aside. And he cautioned that often our amazing inventions are just improved means to an unimproved end. Better ways to achieve the same old, sometimes flawed, human goals.
Can you give a concrete example? That trade-off idea feels really important.
Sure. Think about the early Industrial Revolution. What did we gain? Mass production, cheap goods, faster travel, right? Huge gains in efficiency.
Okay, yeah. Obvious benefits.
But what was the trade-off? What did we lose? Clean air, clean water, for starters. Traditional crafts and skills vanished. Communities were disrupted as people moved to cities for factory work. And Postman's key point was, the advantages and disadvantages are never spread evenly. The factory owner got rich, the city dweller got cheaper goods, maybe, but the worker got grueling conditions and the environment paid a heavy price. that pattern repeats.
Right. Some people get the upside, others get the downside.
Exactly. And that uneven distribution ties into another warning, this one from Carl Sagan, about the public's understanding or lack thereof.
Ah, the knowledge gap. This feels critical, connecting the speed and the inequality to, well, basic safety and democracy.
Totally. Sagan pointed out this terrifying paradox. Our entire civilization is exquisitely dependent on science and technology for everything: food, health, communication, defense. Yet, most people don't actually understand the science or tech that underpins it all.
We use it, but we don't get how it works.
And that creates, as Sagan saw it, a dangerous combination of ignorance and power. If the public can't grasp the tools, how can they possibly make informed decisions about how they're used? How can they hold power accountable? How can democracy function properly in a high-tech world?
It makes us vulnerable to manipulation, or just bad decisions made by the few who do understand, maybe.
That's the risk. And nowhere is this whole dynamic, the speed, the ethical lag, the knowledge gap playing out more intensely right now than with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, AI feels like a different category somehow, not just another tool. Yuval Noah Harari makes this point, doesn't he? He argues AI is fundamentally unique because it's the first technology we've ever created that can potentially make its own decisions, even generate new ideas, without direct human control in the loop. He calls it an agent, not just a tool like a hammer or even a complex computer program.
And that concept of agency, wow, it blows up our usual ways of thinking about responsibility, doesn't it? If a bridge collapses, we look for the engineer who messed up, or the faulty materials. If a self-driving car crashes, we debate if it's the programmer, the sensor, the owner. But if an AI agent does something harmful, say, generates dangerous misinformation, or discriminates in hiring, or worse, who's actually responsible?
The person who trained it, the company that deployed it, the user who gave it a prompt, or the AI itself. That's a legal and moral minefield.
It is. We're creating things that can act in ways we might not predict or fully control. And because they learn, they act like mirrors, reflecting back our own societal flaws, often amplifying them. This is the mirror effect.
Okay, explain that. How does AI act like a mirror?
Well, generative AI, the kind that creates text or images, learns from massive data sets, basically. Huge chunks of the internet, books, articles, pictures created by humans. So if that data contains biases, and human data is full of gender, racial, and other biases, the AI learns them. And it doesn't just learn them, it often amplifies them because of how the algorithms work.
So it's not neutral code, it absorbs our prejudices.
Precisely. There's solid research showing this. MIT studies, for instance, found facial recognition systems work much worse on people with darker skin, especially women. That's not an abstract problem. It leads to real discrimination in things like job applications screened by AI, or even who gets flagged by predictive policing software. Image generators often produce really stereotypical pictures if you don't prompt them very carefully.
Wow, so the tech becomes an accelerator for existing inequalities, a magnifying glass on our societal stains.
Exactly, and this leads to another danger, what some call moral outsourcing.
Moral outsourcing, like letting the machine make the tough calls.
Kind of, yeah. It's the temptation to rely on algorithms for complex, ethically charged decisions because it feels easier or faster or maybe even objective. Think about AI deciding who gets approved for a loan, or what news you see, or even making battlefield decisions in autonomous weapons.
We create a sort of moral distance between ourselves and the consequences.
That's the fear. And if we get too comfortable letting machines handle judgment, what happens to our own human skills? Our empathy, our ability to weigh complex factors, to engage in nuanced ethical debate. Do those skills atrophy, like unused muscles?
That sounds like the ultimate Faustian bargain you mentioned earlier. We trade away our own moral capacity for the sake of convenience or efficiency. That's chilling.
It is a risk.
But hang on, it doesn't have to be that way, does it? Technology isn't inherently bad. It's about how we design it, how we choose to use it. There must be examples of tech designed specifically for good to maybe counteract some of this. I'm thinking of things like pathos, maybe? Use virtual reality, right? To put people directly into someone else's shoes.
Yes, that's a great counterexample.
Like experiencing life as a refugee or someone facing severe discrimination. You're not just reading about it, you're immersed in it. That feels like using tech to build empathy, not erode it.
Absolutely. It shows that if the intent behind the technology is human well-being, connection, understanding, if it's designed with human-centered principles, it can be a force for bridging divides. It really highlights the importance of design choices.
Okay, lots to chew on there. And if this is hitting home for you, remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next deep dive. because next we're going to contrast these risks with the utopian dreams tech often inspires.
Yeah, that's a good transition, because we can't talk about tech's promise without acknowledging the power of those visions, especially from pop culture. And the classic example has to be the Roddenberry dream, right?
Oh, Star Trek, absolutely. Gene Roddenberry gave us this amazing vision of the future. Humanity overcomes poverty, war, racism,
Right.
all replaced by curiosity, cooperation, exploration. Technology wasn't the problem. It was part of the solution, enabling this better future. And it's fascinating how some of this fictional gadgets, like the communicator, actually inspired real tech like our mobile phones. It showed tech serving higher human values.
It's a beautiful, powerful vision, a blueprint almost. But then you look at the harsh reality check of today. Yes, technology has brought incredible benefits, vaccines, global communication, lifting millions out of extreme poverty, historically speaking. But we are still profoundly struggling with racism, with staggering inequality, with wars and geopolitical tensions that feel ripped from the last century, not aimed at the stars.
So we might have the tech, or be developing it, but we haven't solved those fundamental human problems. The tech progress seems disconnected from the moral progress Star Trek envisioned.
It certainly seems that way. And ironically, the very tools that should have helped create that unified global village, our communication networks, often seem to be doing the opposite.
You mean social media?
Exactly. It has this dual role. On one hand, yes, it can mobilize people for good causes, climate action, social justice movements. We've seen that power. But on the other hand, the algorithms that drive engagement often create these intense echo chambers. They feed us more of what we already believe, filter out opposing views, and sometimes amplify outrage and misinformation because that stuff gets clicks.
Which is the total opposite of the Star Trek bridge crew debating different perspectives to find the best solution. It's more like digital tribalism.
Precisely. It entrenches prejudice rather than overcoming it. It fragments society rather than uniting it under common goals. It's a stark contrast to that Roddenberry ideal.
So does this mean the utopian dream is just naive, impossible? Or is it that we're just using these powerful tools badly? We haven't figured out how to align them with our best intentions yet.
I tend towards the latter. I think it means we've been chasing the wrong definition of advancement. If we only measure progress by processing speed or gadget sophistication, we'll keep falling short ethically and social. The real challenge is insisting that our moral evolution must keep pace with our technological evolution. They have to go hand in hand.
Okay, so that leads us to the path forward. If the problem is ethical lag and misaligned priorities, the solution must involve redefining progress and designing technology differently, right? We need to get beyond this idea that tech just sort of happens to us and instead actively shape it, make intentional choices.
Yes, it's about taking responsibility for what we create.
People like Ben Schneiderman are calling for exactly this, a real commitment to what they call human-centered design. He envisions a potential golden age of collaboration, but only if we design AI and other tech specifically to serve human values. Meaning, what does that look like in practice?
It means building AI to reduce disinformation, not amplify it. Designing systems to enhance accessibility for everyone, including people with disabilities. Actively using tech to tackle big global goals like climate change or reducing inequality instead of just maximizing profit or military edge.
So, consciously designing against things like filter bubbles, prioritizing user well-being over just keeping eyes glued to screens, demanding transparency in how algorithmic decisions are made.
Exactly, those are the kinds of shifts required. It suggests the next big frontier isn't just inventing more powerful tech. It might actually be cultivating the wisdom, the compassion, the sense of shared responsibility in the humans who wield that tech.
So it comes back to us.
It has to. Ultimately, we need to completely reframe what we mean by progress. True advancement isn't measured just by the complexity of our tools, our external achievements. It has to be measured by our internal growth, our capacity for empathy, for justice, for taking care of each other and the planet. We need to finally address that core issue Einstein and Hellman flagged decades ago, changing our modes of thinking to match our newfound power.
Okay, so this deep dive, like all of them, was really about sparking some curiosity, maybe challenging a few assumptions, and hopefully expanding our understanding of the huge responsibility that comes with the incredible technological power we now possess. We've seen this ethical lag as a real phenomenon, and maybe the defining test of our time is whether we can close that gap, whether our ethics can evolve as fast as our engineering.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to ponder, doesn't it? That true advancement, the kind that lasts, might hinge less on building the next amazing machine and more on our collective ability to grow up, ethically and socially as we learn to use the machines we already have. Maybe the real final frontier isn't outer space or lines of code after all. Maybe it's us, inside the human heart and mind.
A powerful thought to end on. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective could genuinely shape where we go in our next deep dive. We'd love to hear how you define true progress. And if you found this conversation valuable, please do like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps more people find these My Mind Matchups deep dives. Remember, you can find My Mind Matchups everywhere you listen: Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube. Until next time, keep thinking.